What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today it is blank game week 32. We're going to have a look at my first transfer plans and free hit draft. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here, and today it is my game week 32 transfer plans video. It's going to be very focused around a free hit draft, not necessarily just talking about a free hit draft, but generally where I'm thinking I'm going to go with my team. Let me know how you've got on so far in game week 31. Of course, we still have Liverpool versus Leeds to take place. I'm recording just before half time in the Manchester United Nottingham Forest game. It is currently 1-0 to Manchester United with an Anthony goal as well. But we'll review how this week has gone in a later video. Of course, Dominic Solanke, the man of the moment for me. But before we dive into this video, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on this one. If you have not subscribed already, please make sure you do so. So if I was to make no transfers, or if I was to not play my free hit for this week, my team would line up like this on screen. I currently have 7 players with 4 blank players, pretty much all coming in attack. I have a back 3 because I did take a -4 quite close to the deadline to bring in Mo Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. David Raya starts in goal. I have double Newcastle defence at home to Tottenham. Of course, I then up front have Dominic Solanke, and then I have Ollie Watkins, man of the moment, Ollie Watkins up there as well. Now, straight away, you probably think, yeah, you need to play your free hit this week. Harry, you've only got 7 players. You've only got 1 transfer to play with. However, the -4 that I took really close to the deadline, including bringing in Mo Salah and including bringing in Trent Alexander-Arnold, does mean that there's a little bit of potential for me not to play my free hit this week. If I was to potentially use a couple of transfers, take a -4, maybe even a -8 as well, it would allow me to save my free hit, and it's just whether I think it's more valuable saving it or playing it this week. So in terms of this blank game week, now, of course, we have Brighton, we have Chelsea, we have Manchester City, and we have Manchester United, 4 teams that we are all very reasonably heavily invested in. While the majority of us, the template teams, a lot of us with similar teams will have a reasonable amount of investment in these 4. I have Manchester City asset, I have 3 Manchester United asset, I have 2 Brighton, and I have some Chelsea in there as well. So it is a good week for anyone considering playing their free hit. If you don't have enough players for this week, just play your free hit this week. There is upside to playing it in some of the doubles later on down the line, but I don't necessarily think it's worth holding on if you don't have a good enough team this week. In terms of when you could use it if you do decide to hold your free hit this week, game week 34 is the big double, and if your team isn't set up that well for that game week 34, you could play the free hit in there. We're likely to see doubles in game week 36 and 37 as well, though they will be small if we potentially have Manchester United in those, but they've already qualified for the Champions League and they're just chasing the Europa League, which they might still be in. You might want to play your free hit and sell your Manchester United players for that double game week, for example. And the final one is to free hit on the final day of the season. Knowing that you have players in your starting lineup on the final day that still have something to play for, are fighting relegation, are fighting for Champions League spots, or even fighting for the Premier League title. If Arsenal and Manchester City are still going, despite Arsenal dropping a few more points today, you might want to play your free hit there. So if you don't think you need to use it in game week 32, that's absolutely fine. There are a few other opportunities to use it. However, if you have 6 or 7 maybe that aren't optimal players as well, then there's probably no reason to hold it, because I do think this is probably the best time to use it. Now, if I was not to use it, I would probably end up making a -8 in terms of transfers. I'd probably end up selling Marcus Rashford, and I would go to an Arsenal midfielder. Martinelli does look like the one that I'd want to go with at the moment. They have Southampton at home in game week 32, and I'm very happy to have him, and I'd actually invest in him long term. Having no Arsenal in my team every week does cause a bit of doubt about my squad. It does give me red arrows when they do play, like today. The returns that Odegaard got, the returns that Jesus got, the returns that Martinelli got as well are not good for my rank. Plus, if Saka scored that penalty as well, it would have been even worse for my rank. So having an Arsenal mid is not necessarily a bad thing, and having one long term is not a bad thing either. Chilwell as well is a player I'm going to look to sell either this week or going forward as well. So I could easily sell him, probably to Robertson. I could double up on the Arsenal defence, but they are leaking goals. So I probably would favour the double Liverpool defence, given that they do double in game week 34 as well. So there's a bit of future planning there for that transfer. And then the final one, Luke Shaw, not even in the Manchester United squad again in game week 31. Probably still going to be back by game week 34, but I could move Luke Shaw to Gabriel, particularly with the amount of injuries that there are in that Manchester United defence. I don't necessarily back them for that many clean sheets going forward as well. So it is future-proofing. Even though Gabriel doesn't necessarily have a double later on, having an Arsenal defender is not necessarily a bad thing. So if I was to make transfers this week, it would be probably these 3 transfers. And then that would give me a squad that would have 10 starting players. Now, I would be on a -8 is the only thing for this, but my team wouldn't look too bad. The only thing I'm probably missing in here is a third Arsenal asset. It's probably the only thing that I would drop, so I wouldn't have Haaland if I was on a free hit and I have the third Arsenal asset. And for a -8, to save the free hit, it is worth considering whether I should really do it. But again, when I look at game week 34, if I was to play my free hit that week, it doesn't really make sense for the long-term planning of my squad, because the teams you want to invest in game week 34 are the same ones you want to invest in game week 37. The likes of Manchester City, the likes of Manchester United, the likes of Brighton assets as well. You're wanting them for game week 34 and you want them for game week 37 as well. So if you play your free hit in game week 34, you're then going to spend the run up to game week 37 basically buying the same group of players that you would have bought for game week 34 as well. So I could do it. I could take a -8, but because the double in game week 34 looks very similar to game week 37, I don't think it's worth me holding off. So then what would a free hit draft for me look like? Now, I'm going to say straight away, this free hit draft is going to look very template to a lot of you. It's going to be very similar to the template draft that you see across YouTube, that you probably see across Twitter as well. But that's because I think it's a very strong draft and I think there's a lot of good players in that. I've gone with double Crystal Palace against Everton with Johnson in goal. We've actually got Gaeta on the bench in case Gaeta comes back and is fit and available and then starts it. I've gone with both of them, so I'll have the Crystal Palace goalkeeper at home to Everton, whoever it turns out to be. I've gone with Eze as the midfielder. Elise also looks really good, but 2 goals for Eze in game week 31 just means he's probably the one that I'm going to favour. A little bit maybe more goal threat, whereas Elise maybe has a little bit more assist potential. We then have the triple up of Liverpool and the triple up of Arsenal as well. Robertson, Trent, and then Mo Salah are the 3 that I've gone with, just because I find it very hard to predict who's going to be the third Liverpool attacker that's going to start. Who else is going to start up there alongside Mo Salah? If I knew that Darwin was going to start, if I knew that Jota was going to start, if I knew that Gakpo was going to start, I'd probably take a punt on them. But with Luis Diaz returning, Firmino performing well as well, there is enough rotation risk that I've gone with the double defence, and it is a good fixture for them as well. In defence, we also have Kieran Trippier. So Kieran Trippier versus Harry Kane is going to be a big debate. Should you go for both? If you go for the sort of template, the EO, to protect yourself from those not playing a free hit, Trippier and Kane is very popular. However, what are you expecting from that game? Are you expecting Trippier to get an attacking return and Kane to score, which seems quite unlikely? Are you expecting a Newcastle clean sheet, in which case then you don't want Harry Kane? If you think Harry Kane's going to score, then do you want Trippier? It's worth trying to predict that to try and maximise what you can get out of the free hit. I've gone with Trippier in here because I do like the 3 forwards that I can have in this squad. Triple Arsenal, all in attack, Saka, Martinelli, Jesus. They are just leaking goals at the moment. I don't necessarily want one of the defenders, and I'm happy with the defenders that we've got. And the final ones, of course, Ollie Watkins keeps his place. Brentford look okay defensively at home, but not that great away from home. And then Dominic Solanke is in there as my third forward. He's got to stay in there after his 15-point haul for me, right, in game week 31. So happy with that. So happy with that. Got me into the top 1,000 again. In terms of bench, we've mentioned Gaeta. Andreas Pereira at home to Leeds is probably next. Castagna and then Moreno of Aston Villa are my 2 defenders we've got in there. I'm not hoping that I would need them. This squad should all start going into game week 32. If there's anyone that's a doubt, I probably won't own them on my free hit anyway. So I'm not activating my free hit yet. I think there's about a 10% chance that I decide to take the -8 and potentially use my transfers elsewhere. But I think there's about a 90% chance that I do use the free hit, and this is what my current squad is looking like. Captaincy on Mo Salah, vice captain on Martinelli, just because of how Arsenal do share points a little bit. Plus, they have Manchester City in game week 33, so there could be a little bit more rotation or early subs for the Arsenal players as well. Let me know what you think about this free hit draft. Let me know what you think about the -8 that I could potentially take as well. Drop any questions you have in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. There's going to be plenty to come, as this is probably the biggest week we have left of FPL, potentially game week 34 as well. If you haven't already, make sure you've liked the video. Subscribe if you are new around here as well. Good luck in the remainder of game week 32. Like and subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.